Ever feel like you're handed this like pre-written script for life, especially when it comes to love and relationships?
Oh, totally. Like you're supposed to hit all these milestones in the right order.
Right. Well, in La Fiesta de las Amigas, Mana says, "Nope, I don't think so. Get ready to toss that script out the window."
Seriously. This book is a wild ride.
It really is. We're talking love, friendship,
Yeah.
all the ways we connect, but through this really sharp, critical lens.
Man, it doesn't hold back.
Not one bit. So, right from the prologue, she throws down this idea of romantic love as a
A
device.
device.
Yeah, almost like a tool or
It's a
a.
machine.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
she even compares it to a weapon at one point.
Whoa, okay, that's intense.
Right. It makes you think of Foucault, how he talked about those systems of control that operate in subtle ways.
Oh, totally. And Mana's point is that this love device, this whole system we've built around romantic love, often it just ends up reinforcing traditional gender roles and power imbalances.
Which is something I think a lot of feminist thinkers have been hesitant to really dig into.
It's like this taboo subject, right? You're not supposed to criticize love.
Exactly. But Manna just goes there. She even says, and I might be paraphrasing here, that some feminists have been too afraid to criticize romantic love directly.
Even when it's being used to, like, control women or keep them in a box.
Like almost like they don't want to seem.
Unromantic.
Yeah, or like they're anti-love.
But Mana's coming from this place of, let's be real about what's happening here.
Exactly. And to do that, she brings in all these big thinkers, Deleuze, for example. Remember how he talked about how our desires are shaped by society?
Like, we're not just born wanting certain things. It's more complicated than that.
Way more complicated. So Mana takes that idea and applies it to love.
Okay, so instead of just accepting this idea that love conquers all,
Which, let's be honest, we've all heard a million times.
Mana's asking us to think critically about where those feelings and expectations about love come from in the first place.
And how those expectations might actually be hurting us, especially women.
It makes you think about all the ways we're told we should act in relationships,
And all the things we should be willing to do for love.
even if it means sacrificing our own needs or desires.
Which she gives a really powerful example of in the chapter La Lluvia del Amor, where she talks about how women are often pressured to take on the emotional labor in relationships.
Oh, for sure, like being the caregiver, the peacemaker, the one who's always smoothing things over.
And we're often told that's a good thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like it's a sign of how much we love someone.
But Manna argues that this kind of self-sacrifice, this constant giving without receiving, it's often rooted in a system that benefits from keeping women in a subordinate position.
It's like we're conditioned to believe that putting everyone else's needs before our own is just what good partners do.
So let me ask you this. Have you ever felt that pressure to be the perfect partner?
Oh, absolutely.
Even if it meant like shrinking yourself or your own needs.
Totally. It's like this unspoken expectation.
And when you start to question those expectations,
Things can get really interesting, especially when we start talking about lesbian relationships.
lesbian relationships, that's perfect because that's where Manna takes this whole love device thing in a really fascinating direction.
Right. Like we were saying, it's not enough to just step outside the heteronormative box.
She's got this whole chapter, La Existencia Lesbiana, and it blew my mind. Like, it made me rethink so many assumptions about being a lesbian.
Totally. Like, okay, so you're not with a man. You challenge those expectations, but then you bump into a whole other set of rules.
Within the LGBTQ community itself.
Exactly. It's like this weird echo, you know?
And one of the big ones Manna calls out is this pressure for lesbians to, get this, conform to traditional relationship models.
Oh, yeah. Monogamy rears its head again.
Like you broke free from one set of expectations and then bam, here's another.
Compulsory monogamy.
Yeah.
It's like it follows you.
And the thing is, it's not even just about like proving something to the outside world, right?
It gets internalized.
Manna tells this story about lesbians who feel pressured to be in a relationship before they even come out to their families.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like they need that proof to make their identity more, I don't know, acceptable. It's wild how deep these societal expectations run.
Totally. And then you've got this fear of judgment, right? Like if you're not in a relationship, maybe you're not mature enough, not ready for commitment, all those old tropes.
Ugh, the worst. And Manna takes this even further with this idea of chrononormativity. Have you heard of this?
Oh, yeah. The timeline. Like there's a right way to do life.
School, job, marriage, kids all on schedule.
Like clockwork.
And if you step off that path,
You're a failure. Or at least that's the message we often internalize.
exactly. And for LGBTQ folks, especially lesbians, it's like their relationships get held to this even higher standard.
It's like they have to work twice as hard to prove their love is real, valid.
And Mana's argument is that this whole pressure to conform, it actually stifles us. Like, it keeps us from growing, from discovering who we truly are.
Instead of just following the script.
We need to invent other forms of relating and existing, she says. I love that.
It's a call to action. We can create something new, something better.
But then the big question is, what does that even look like? Is it as simple as just swapping one relationship model for another, like monogamy is out, polyamory is in?
Or is it something deeper, more fundamental that we need to shift?
And that, my friends, leads us perfectly to Mana's exploration of alternative relationships. This is where things get really juicy, so we're ready to ditch the old script and explore some alternative paths, right?
Let's get adventurous with it.
Mana dives right into it, talking about non-monogamy, polyamory, all these ways people are trying to create relationships outside that love device. But, and this is key,
It's always a but.
it's not as simple as just swapping one relationship model for another, is it?
It's like rearranging the furniture,
Yeah.
You can move things around, but if the foundation's still wonky.
The whole thing's gonna collapse, so it feels like ditching monogamy isn't some magic answer. What does Mana suggest we do instead?
She's all about going deeper, getting to the root of it. Not just switching labels, but really examining those desires and expectations we carry. Why are we drawn to certain relationships? Are those our genuine desires or...
Or society's voice whispering in our ear?
Exactly. Those societal norms, we internalize them so deeply, we don't even realize they're shaping our choices.
Okay, that makes sense. Like, we might think we're being all progressive and open-minded, but...
Those old scripts about love can creep back in.
Totally. We could end up replicating the same harmful patterns, even if we're trying to do things differently.
Mana's point is, even in alternative relationships, we can perpetuate inequalities and power imbalances if we're not careful. We might think we're breaking free, but really we're just trading one set of problems for another.
Still stuck in that same old system.
Trapped. So it's not just about the structure of the relationship, it's about the awareness we bring to it.
About recognizing those ingrained patterns and choosing differently.
And that's where, get this, Mana emphasizes the importance of friendship.
Friendship? Wait, really?
I know, right? It seems so simple, but she argues that we're so fixated on romantic love that we undervalue the power of friendship.
We're always searching for the one, that perfect romantic partner, and maybe neglecting those incredible friendships we already have.
Because we're taught that romantic love is the ultimate goal, the be-all and end-all.
And if we don't achieve that, we've somehow failed.
Which is such a shame because friendships can be so fulfilling, so life-giving.
It's like we're so terrified of being alone that we put all this pressure on romantic relationships to fulfill all our needs.
Like they're supposed to be everything.
Yeah.
Lover, best friend, therapist, confidant. It's too much.
Way too much. No wonder so many relationships end up feeling suffocating or disappointing.
Exactly. So Mana suggests maybe if we were more comfortable with solitude, more accepting of our own company,
We wouldn't be so quick to settle for relationships that aren't truly serving us.
we'd be free to choose from a place of wholeness, not lack.
I love that. La Fiesta de las Amigas really challenges us to rethink everything we thought we knew about love, relationships, even friendship. It's not about easy answers, but it gives us a whole new framework for understanding these fundamental aspects of our lives.
It's like a breath of fresh air.
It really is. And Mana leaves us with this thought. If love is an addiction, should we try to break free or find new ways to experience it? So much to unpack there. What do you think? Hit us up on social media. Let's keep this conversation going. Until next time, happy reading, and we'll catch you on the next deep dive.